Listen quietly and let your mind become still like a calm lake at dawn. Tonight is not just another night. It is a doorway between what has been and what can be. Most people move through life unaware of such doors, but you are here now, aware, ready. There is a sound, a rhythm, a silent frequency that aligns with the deeper currents of existence. It is not magic in the way the restless mind imagines. It is alignment. When your thoughts, your emotions, and your intentions move together like a river flowing in one direction, abundance naturally follows. Before you sleep tonight, release the weight you have been carrying. Let go of fear, doubt, and the belief that wealth is distant from you. These thoughts are like stones tied to your spirit, keeping you from rising. Sit quietly, close your eyes, and breathe. With every breath, imagine these stones dissolving. Now bring your attention to gratitude. Not for what you wish to have, but for what already exists in your life. Gratitude is the key that unlocks hidden doors. When the heart is thankful, it sends a signal to the universe. I am ready to receive more. Play the sound, the music, the frequency you have chosen, not as a desperate act, but as a gentle invitation. Do not cling to it with expectation. Instead, allow it to flow around you like a soft breeze. Let it guide your mind into stillness. As you lie down to sleep, imagine yourself already living in abundance. Not in fantasy, but in feeling. Feel the ease, the security, the quiet confidence of having enough. The mind does not know the difference between what is real and what is deeply felt. What you feel tonight becomes the seed of tomorrow. Understand this clearly. Money is not attracted by chasing. It is drawn by alignment. When you are calm, clear, and open, opportunities appear in ways you cannot predict. A message, an idea, a chance meeting, these are the pathways through which abundance arrives. Do not question how it will come. The moment you begin to doubt, you close the door you just opened. Trust the process, even if the mind seeks certainty. Sleep with a peaceful heart. Let the sound carry your intentions into the unseen. And when you wake, do so with awareness. Be attentive to the small signs, the subtle shifts. What you once ignored may now become the answer you were waiting for. Remember, the true power is not in the sound itself, but in the state it helps you enter. A state of trust, gratitude, and alignment. Tonight, you are not asking for wealth. You are becoming someone who naturally receives it. And when morning comes, do not be surprised if life responds. True abundance begins with inner alignment. Your thoughts, emotions, and intentions must flow together like one stream. True abundance begins with inner alignment, a state where your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are no longer scattered in different directions but move together like a single flowing river. Most people search for abundance outside themselves, believing it is something to be chased, grabbed, or competed for. But the deeper truth is that whatever you experience outwardly is first shaped within your inner world. When the mind is divided, when it thinks one thing, feels another, and desires something else entirely, life becomes unstable and results remain inconsistent. Inner alignment is the quiet turning point where this fragmentation begins to dissolve. Imagine a lamp filled with oil but shaken constantly, its light becomes weak and broken. In the same way, a restless mind cannot produce steady results. But when the lamp is placed still, the flame rises straight and bright. Inner alignment is that stillness. It is the moment when you stop arguing with your own thoughts and begin guiding them in one direction. You no longer say, "I want abundance," while silently believing, "I never get enough." Instead, both your belief and your intention begin to support each other. Emotions also play a powerful role in this alignment. If your thoughts are positive but your emotions are filled with worry, doubt, or impatience, the inner signal becomes mixed. True alignment happens when your feelings begin to match your vision. You not only think of stability and growth, but you also feel calm, secure, and open as if it is already unfolding. This harmony creates a powerful inner frequency that shapes how you respond to life and how life responds to you. Intentions complete this alignment. An intention is not just a wish, it is a direction you choose for your energy. When your intention is clear, simple, and consistent, your actions naturally begin to follow it. You stop wasting energy on distractions and begin moving with purpose, even in small daily steps. Over time, these aligned steps create opportunities that once seemed impossible. Inner alignment does not demand force. It requires awareness. It asks you to observe yourself honestly and gently correct the inner conflict. As this alignment deepens, you will notice a shift not only in what you attract, but in how you feel each day. There is less struggle, more clarity, and a quiet confidence that life is finally moving with you, not against you. Letting go of fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs is essential, as these block the natural flow of wealth into your life. Letting go of fear, doubt, and limiting beliefs is one of the most powerful inner shifts a person can experience. Because these invisible burdens shape the entire direction of life without most people even realizing it. Fear quietly tells the mind to stay small, to avoid risk, to expect loss before opportunity even arrives. Doubt whispers that nothing will work, that effort is pointless, and that success belongs to others but not to you. Limiting beliefs are even deeper. They are the silent stories repeated over years until they feel like truth. Together, these inner patterns become like chains, not because life is actually closed, but because perception becomes restricted. When the mind is filled with fear, even opportunities begin to look like threats. A new path feels unsafe, a new idea feels unrealistic, a new chance feels temporary or dangerous. In this state, the person does not move forward fully even when life is offering growth. Half steps replace full steps, hesitation replaces confidence, and the energy needed to create change gets constantly drained by overthinking. Doubt works in a similar way but more subtly. It does not always stop action completely, instead it weakens action. A person may begin something new, but doubt sits behind every effort, questioning every move, predicting failure before progress has a chance to build. Over time, this creates inconsistency. And inconsistency is one of the greatest barriers to abundance because anything meaningful requires steady energy, not scattered effort. Limiting beliefs are often inherited from environment, past experiences, or repeated words heard during growth. Statements like, "This is too hard," "People like me don't succeed," or "Money is always difficult to earn" settle quietly in the subconscious mind. Once accepted, they act like invisible rules. A person begins to live inside these rules without questioning them, unknowingly shaping their decisions around them. But here lies an important truth: none of these inner barriers are permanent. They are learned, which means they can be unlearned. The first step is awareness. When you observe fear rising, instead of obeying it immediately, you pause and recognize it. When doubt appears, you do not treat it as fact, but as a passing thought. When limiting beliefs surface, you begin to question their origin instead of accepting their authority. As this awareness grows, something begins to change. The mind slowly loosens its grip on old patterns. Space is created inside you, space to think differently, to respond differently, to act differently. And in that space, courage begins to grow quietly. Not loud confidence, but steady courage that allows you to move even when uncertainty exists. Letting go does not mean forcing thoughts away. It means no longer feeding them. Fear loses power when it is no longer followed. Doubt weakens when it is no longer believed. Limiting beliefs dissolve when they are no longer repeated as truth. In this release, the mind becomes lighter, clearer, and more open. And in that openness, life no longer feels closed or fixed. It begins to feel spacious again, full of possibility, where new paths can appear that were never visible before. Practicing genuine gratitude for what you already have opens the door for more abundance to enter. Gratitude is not merely a polite feeling or a brief moment of appreciation. It is a deep inner shift that changes how the mind interprets life itself. When gratitude becomes genuine, it transforms perception from scarcity to abundance. Most people look at their lives through the lens of what is missing. Their attention constantly moves toward what they do not have, what is not working, and what still needs to be achieved. In that state, even when blessings are present, they are overlooked because the mind is trained to search for lack. Gratitude interrupts this pattern and gently turns the attention toward what already exists. When a person begins to feel true gratitude, something subtle but powerful happens within. The heart softens. The mind becomes less defensive, less anxious about the future, and less trapped in comparison with others. Instead of measuring life through pressure, it begins to experience life through presence. In this presence, even small things start to feel meaningful. A simple moment of peace, a breath taken without worry, a basic need already fulfilled, these begin to appear as silent gifts rather than ordinary facts. This shift in awareness creates a new emotional frequency. A mind that is constantly focused on lack sends signals of tension and urgency, but a mind rooted in gratitude sends signals of openness and trust. This does not mean problems disappear instantly, but it changes the way challenges are experienced. Instead of panic, there is patience. Instead of frustration, there is clarity. And in this clarity, better decisions naturally arise. Gratitude also has a way of breaking the illusion that life is withholding something from you. In truth, life is always giving in some form, but not always in the form the mind demands. When expectations are rigid, everything outside those expectations feels like absence. But when gratitude expands, it recognizes different forms of receiving. Sometimes what you already have is the foundation of what you are trying to build. Sometimes what feels small today is actually the beginning of something much larger. Another profound aspect of gratitude is that it changes how a person relates to the past. Instead of carrying only regret or disappointment, the mind begins to find meaning even in difficult experiences. What once felt like loss begins to appear as preparation, but what once felt unfair begins to reveal hidden lessons. This does not deny pain, but it transforms its weight. The past no longer pulls the mind backward, instead it becomes part of inner strength. As gratitude deepens, it also influences how a person interacts with the present moment. There is less rushing, less dissatisfaction, and less internal noise. Actions become more mindful. Even simple tasks are done with greater awareness. This presence naturally reduces stress and increases a sense of stability. From this stable ground, new possibilities are more easily noticed because the mind is not distracted by constant dissatisfaction. Over time, gratitude builds an inner atmosphere where abundance feels natural rather than rare. It does not force anything to come faster, but it prepares the inner space to recognize and receive what is already on its way. In this way, gratitude becomes not just an emotion, but a way of seeing life, a quiet understanding that even now, something valuable already exists within your reach. The sound or frequency you play is not magic itself, it helps guide your mind into a calm, receptive, and aligned state. The sound, the frequency, or the calming audio you choose before sleep is not powerful because of the external noise itself, but because of the internal state it helps you enter. Human consciousness is highly sensitive to rhythm, repetition, and vibration. When the mind is exposed to steady, calming sound, it gradually begins to slow down its constant activity. Thoughts that were scattered throughout the day start to lose intensity and mental resistance begins to soften. This is where the true effect takes place, not in the sound alone, but in the shift it creates within awareness. During daily life, the mind remains active, analyzing, planning, worrying, and remembering. It rarely gets the opportunity to settle completely. When a consistent sound is introduced in a peaceful environment, especially at night when external distractions are reduced, the brain begins to synchronize with that rhythm. This process gently guides the nervous system into relaxation. Breathing becomes slower, tension reduces, and emotional noise begins to quiet down. In this relaxed state, the mind becomes more receptive. This is important because whatever thoughts or intentions are present at this moment tend to sink deeper than during a busy, distracted state. It is not that the sound itself creates results, but rather that it prepares the mind to receive and internalize thoughts more effectively. If a person uses this time to reflect on peace, stability, or abundance, those ideas are absorbed more deeply into subconscious awareness. The subconscious mind is always active, even when a person is asleep. It does not analyze like the conscious mind, it simply accepts patterns that are repeatedly experienced or strongly felt. This is why the environment before sleep matters. A calm, focused atmosphere helps guide the subconscious towards supportive patterns rather than chaotic ones. Over time, this can influence how a person thinks, feels, and responds in waking life. However, the most important understanding is that the sound is only a tool. It is not a force that changes destiny on its own. Its purpose is to create stillness, to reduce mental noise, and to help the individual enter a more centered state. If used with awareness, it becomes a bridge between daily stress and inner calm. When the mind becomes quiet through this process, something subtle emerges, a sense of space. In that space, clarity becomes easier, emotions become lighter, and intention becomes stronger. The person is no longer fully controlled by the chaos of the day. Instead, they enter sleep with a more peaceful inner state, allowing rest, reflection, and renewal to happen naturally. In this way, the sound is not the source of change, but the doorway to a deeper stillness where change can quietly begin within. Wealth comes through trust and awareness, not force. When you are open and present, opportunities appear naturally in unexpected ways. Understanding that wealth is drawn through trust and awareness rather than force is a profound shift in how a person relates to life. Most people are conditioned to believe that constant struggle, pressure, and overexertion are the only paths to success. They think that if they are not pushing harder, worrying more, or chasing endlessly, nothing will happen. But this mindset often creates the opposite result. The more force is applied within attention, the more resistance seems to appear in life. Trust in this deeper sense is not blind belief. It is a quiet confidence that life is not completely random or against you. It is the inner knowing that opportunities are not limited, but often arrive in ways that cannot be predicted by a stressed or narrow mind. When a person begins to trust, the internal pressure reduces. The mind stops trying to control every outcome and instead becomes more observant, more open, and more flexible. Awareness plays an equally important role. Awareness means being present enough to notice what is actually happening in your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. Many opportunities are missed not because they do not exist, but because the mind is too distracted or too anxious to recognize them. A person lost in worry cannot easily see subtle possibilities. But a person who is aware begins to notice small signals, an idea, a conversation, a timing, or an unexpected opening that others might ignore. When trust and awareness combine, something powerful begins to form. Action becomes more intelligent rather than reactive. Instead of forcing movement in every direction, a person starts moving in the right direction. Effort becomes more meaningful, not because it is greater, but because it is aligned. There is less waste of energy, less confusion, and more clarity in decision-making. This does not mean that effort is unnecessary. Action is still important, but it is no longer driven by anxiety. It becomes guided action rather than desperate action. A calm mind can take better steps than a restless one, even if both are working equally hard. The difference lies in inner state. As trust deepens, fear of outcomes slowly begins to lose control. A person is no longer paralyzed by "what if I fail?" Instead, there is a steady willingness to try, adjust, and continue. This openness creates movement, and movement creates possibilities. Life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like a process of unfolding. Awareness ensures that nothing important is overlooked. Trust ensures that the mind does not collapse under pressure. Together they create a balanced inner state where life can respond more freely. In this state, opportunities are not forced into existence, they are recognized when they appear. Over time, this approach changes everything. Work feels lighter, decisions feel clearer, and direction feels more natural. Wealth in this sense is not something hunted. It is something that gradually aligns with a mind that is calm enough to notice it and open enough to receive it.